Good morning. Welcome to the First Universalist Church of Yarmouth. My name is Sarah Whitty. I'm on the Worship Council and also on the Board of Trustees. I'm so glad to see you and be greeting you here this morning. A warm welcome to everyone who gathered here this morning, and a welcome to everybody who's on Zoom. Glad you can be here too. At First Universalist, our mission is to explore our faith, embrace this community, and to engage the world as spiritual seekers. May we take these words to heart. If this is your first time to our congregation, welcome. We invite you to fill out a connection card, which will be found in the pew rack in front of you, and then we can connect you with programs here that interest you. You can drop this in the offering plate when it comes around. And if you're here today with a young child who might prefer to spend some part of the next hour in a space with toys and games, we have a nursery which is staffed at the end of the hall out this door. And following our time for wonder this morning, all children are invited to join Mac downstairs for Children's Chapel. Before we begin our service, I have two quick announcements. One, please join us next Saturday night for our main farm supper. It's a beautiful dinner, and all proceeds go to the Maine Association for New Americans. Much more information about that in your news program. And next Sunday, November 5th, directly following our worship service, we will be holding a fire drill. So please be here, then you'll know how that works. Members of our Yarmouth Fire Department will be on hand to start us off, and this is something that a lot of churches do. So, we light candles, we have Christmas decorations, we need to know how to exit the building safely, and that's what we're going to practice. Please check out your Sunday morning news for everything that's going on. And now I invite you to take a deep breath. Let yourself be here now fully. And we'll settle into our time together. Our music director, Sam Chandler, will lead us into worship. Thank you.
Thanks, Sam. Good morning, everyone. Oh, how are you? It's good to see you. It's really good to see you. It's felt so important to be here together this fall. Good to remember we are in it together. My name is Hillary. I serve as the minister here in our church that rests and tries to live with love at our center upon Wabanaki land, along the banks of a sacred river once called the Wescustago. And it is with peace, and friendship that I say, no matter who you are, where you're from, who you love, what you've done, if you too have gathered here in the midst of it all with peace and friendship, you are so welcome here right now. It's so good you're here. Friends, simply put, today will be a service of peace, of prayer, of attention, of healing, of courage. Our opening words are by Soretta Morgan, a Black Appalachian poet called to support community connectivity, no matter the weight of their oppression and grief. The poem I share by her, though I read it more as a vow than a poem, has no title. She writes, I want to wake every morning into love, where love is the question of, how am I going to help you get free? Where that means whatever it needs to mean. I'm going to read it again. I want to wake every morning into love, where love is the question of, how am I going to help you get free? Where that means whatever it needs to mean. Good morning, good friends. As we wake into love and support the connectivity of our beloved community, let's take a moment now to turn to our neighbors, greet them, ask them how they are doing today. All right. I invite you to open your hearts and ears now as members of our choir will lead us in song. Thank you, choir. Thank you, choir. Will you now rise, my friends, in body and spirit, and join in singing our opening hymn, I've Got Peace Like a River. It's number 100 in your gray hymnal, the hardcover one.
I've got peace like a river. I got peace like a river. Got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I got peace like a river. I got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I got joy like a fountain. I got joy like a fountain in my soul. I got love like an ocean. I got love like an ocean. I got love like an ocean in my soul. I got love like an ocean. I got love like an ocean in my soul. I got pain like an arrow. I got pain like an arrow. Pain like an arrow in my soul. I got pain like an arrow. I got pain like an arrow. I got pain like an arrow in my soul. I got tears like the raindrops. I got tears like the raindrops. I got tears like the raindrops in my soul. I got tears like the raindrops. I got tears like the raindrops. I got tears like the raindrops in my soul. I got strength like the mountain. I got strength like the mountain. I got strength like the mountain in my soul. I got strength like the mountain. I got strength like the mountain in my soul.
All right, will you remain standing, my friends, and join me in the words of our unison affirmation? They're written in your order of service. We are united in seeking to increase love with justice and to constitute a free church open to all people. Mindful of our past and drawing upon modern knowledge, we respond to the spiritual needs of persons and are devoted to the common good in community, nation, and world. We cherish the integrity of each individual and search for truth with reason as our guide. We respect differences of opinion and strive to be a democratic community. We are concerned with this world and open to the future. Thank you. You may be seated. I invite our friend Steve Thomas up now to light our chalice this morning. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, Laura. I was asked to give some reflections on the meaning of lighting the chalice. To put this in context, I don't know about you, but I tend to come, if I'm not doing something that takes a lot of concentration, I tend to come in, sit down, think about who do I want to talk to? What do I want to talk to people about? You know, did I buy tickets to the farm supper? All these things. Behind all that, there's this underlying sense of discouragement, depression, sadness about what's happening locally, statewide, nationwide, and internationally. So that when I hear the chalice lighting take place, it kind of is this kick upside the head saying, you know, pay attention, calm yourself down, breathe deeply, and be prepared to not be concerned about any of these other things. So that's what it's meant to me. I'd like to light the chalice, but I need some help. Are there some smaller people who can come and help light the chalice? It would be great. Great. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay. Would you hold this for a second while I light the chalice? And what I'm going to do is to ask little people to blow this out. And when we light this, we're going to do this whole piece of we light our chalice and then the congregation will chime in. We light our chalice in peace. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Second time was a good one. Thank you so much. Take care.
That's okay. I know. Oh, Gwen and Mac, good morning. How are you? How are you? I'm better now. I'll tell you that much. I am better now.
So Mac and Hillary and I were talking this morning about what we can do when we're feeling scared to help us feel brave. And we each came up with a different idea, and we also hope maybe some of you have some ideas too. Hillary, what do you do? Or one thing. What's one thing you do?
One thing I do is I accept a hug from anyone who wants to give me a hug when I'm feeling overwhelmed or scared. I find there's something, I like that. There's something about receiving a hug, making physical contact with someone else in a loving, supportive way that boosts my soul and my courage because it reminds me we're not in this alone. What about you, Mac?
Well, I think when I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed or scared, I try to think about my values, and I try to think of an affirmation to sort of get me through it. And for me, it's almost just one word, which is love. Like I try to do all things with love, even if they're scary.
Nice.
What about you, Gwen?
So when I'm feeling scared, I often find myself kind of like hunching, going into my body, this sort of thing, curl up in bed.
Oh, yeah.
But so what I try to remind myself sometimes is not to just curl up in bed. When I'm feeling scared, I try to bring my shoulders back. I try to take a deep breath. I try to maybe even spread my body out a little bit and reclaim some of that power so that I feel brave again. I feel confident.
It's like the Wonder Woman stance.
Yep.
With my lasso of truth.
I turn into Wonder Woman.
Yes, I see it. What about others? What do you all do when you're feeling overwhelmed or a little scared and you need to feel strong and brave? Say again. Go outdoors. Yes. Yeah. Sing.
Sing, yeah.
Yes. Remind yourself of the good things, which are always plentiful if we remember them, right? It's wild. Breathe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Climb a tree? Sharon, good for you. I like that. Others? Yeah. Say again, my friend. Climb bushes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cook. Yeah, so good to remember to eat. Yeah, Chris. Take a walk. Get big. Beautiful. Listen to music. Yeah. Walk your dog. Yep.
Yeah.
Cup of tea.
Yes.
Call a friend. I'm hearing just eat. Sing it, sister.
Get you together with the people who cook.
Yeah, we're making connections. Here's the connectivity right now. Well, beautiful. What are you all doing in Children's Chapel today?
Today, we are making pumpkin slime, which should be super fun. Do something physical and sensory.
Beautiful. Well, can we say our children's prayer and get to
Yeah.
it? All right. We are Unitarian, Universalists, people with open minds, loving hearts,
and helping hands.
Thanks all.
So don't worry, I'm not going to miss the pumpkin slime. I'm going to talk to you for a few minutes and then head down. Do you ever get a song stuck in your head? Yes. Okay, it's like this endless loop, right? And there's no stop button or pause button. So once Kai, my spouse sitting over there, for months had Holly Jolly Christmas in their head on repeat. You can imagine how festive that felt in January, and then February, and then March, and then April. Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome. So when we had a baby, though, I wasn't just getting songs stuck in my head. Suddenly it was thoughts. In those early, blurry days with a newborn, I couldn't tell you exactly when this thought first came, but there it was. What if you fall down the stairs while you're holding your baby? And I would ask myself this at random times when I couldn't even see stairs in my line of sight, and it would keep me awake when sleep was this precious commodity. I felt strangely guilty about this thought, like thinking it might cause it to happen. I also felt embarrassed and I felt worried. This what if being stuck in my brain, it felt different than Holly Jolly Christmas. And it was different. Those ideas and questions that got stuck in my head are called intrusive thoughts. And it turns out that about half of new parents experience them. Usually it's something like mine. It's this worst case scenario or this fear that gets stuck and plays out over and over. And it's not just new parents who find themselves with intrusive thoughts. If you experience trauma, a big stressful change in your life, or go through certain hormonal shifts, you could develop these intrusive thoughts. And some of you might have experienced intrusive thoughts in these past few days. Worries about keeping yourself safe, your loved ones safe. These thoughts are entirely rational, based on very real, very scary events. But still, they can easily overwhelm us. And these thoughts don't actually keep us any safer. They don't provide us with any protection, and they don't help any of the people we care about. Instead, these endless thought loops can just wear us down. So astoundingly, for a lot of people, for me, there's just this known and straightforward way to minimize these intrusive thoughts. Okay, it's just 3 things. First, you identify it as an intrusive thought. Second, you don't fight it, you don't argue with it, you don't resist it. And finally, This is the hardest part, but you have to do it. You don't attach judgment to the thought. You accept that you're having the thought without judging yourself or the thought that has arisen. So what do those steps look like in practice? For me, it was just like this. It was saying to myself, there's that intrusive thought again. I'm glad I know now that it will go away. And that's it, and it worked. So easy that it almost seems unreal, but it is real. I have a Harvard Medical School article if any of you want to check it out. For, for children who have experienced trauma, it's also common to have intrusive thoughts or have unwanted, repetitive memories of what happened. So for 5 years, I worked as an advocate for children who experience sexual abuse and their non-offending caregivers. I would first meet these families at a child advocacy center where a forensic interviewer would talk with the child about what they had experienced. Meanwhile, their parent or caregiver would be sitting in the waiting room, sometimes days or even just hours after they first learned about this very scary thing that happened to their child. And I would be there with them. We talked about a lot of things in that waiting room. There was grief, anger, and denial. There was overwhelm, there was shutdown. There was a need to control the situation. There was ambivalence. There are people who wanted so desperately to fix the situation somehow, to make it all better for their child. None of us can do that. None of us can erase traumatic experiences. But there are things we can do that dramatically improve the outcomes for children who experience trauma. First is having at least one adult, one parent, one caregiver, one person who believes the child and works to protect them in the future. And the second is to engage in trauma-focused therapy, and for young children specifically, play therapy. Some people, some adults, play therapy seems counterintuitive. They might initially balk at this idea of playing out horrible events that occurred in your life. But play is the language of childhood. For children who experience trauma, they often get stuck replaying the traumatic events again and again, no matter what. Their play suddenly becomes focused around death, or house fires, or earthquakes, or abuse. A play therapist trained to address trauma doesn't tell the child to stop. They don't redirect the play. The therapist engages in the play with them, but this time, instead of just going into the trauma, this time the child can replay the events in a way that's supported, where the child can feel safe to explore those scary events and the associated feelings. By engaging in this play, the therapist can help the child find a safe, protective conclusion. This type of therapeutic play can give the message, you're safe now, you're loved. The adults in your life will do everything they can to protect you. As adults, we also sometimes approach and even purposefully engage with frightening ideas or situations. Sometimes we seek out horror movies or true crime podcasts or murder mysteries, and that's okay. It's okay to turn towards the things that scare us. There's some science behind why we do this. By eliciting the fear, the emotions, the anxieties, we can actually learn how to regulate and cope with these emotions in a time and a place that's safe to do so. We can teach ourselves and our bodies that it's okay, we'll be okay, we're safe. So now, let's take a deep breath together. I want to acknowledge that things have been incredibly scary these past few days. There is understandably shock and overwhelm, worry, and grief. But while you're here in this sanctuary, in this moment, know that you're safe. You are loved. People in your life will help you through times of adversity. We are here together in this community to support each other. The intrusive thoughts can dissipate. It's okay to play. We're here to support each other. We all have the capacity to heal from trauma.
Thank you, Gwen. Friends, we now come to the time in our service that we set aside for quiet prayer and meditation. I invite you to use this sacred time in whatever way feels most nourishing to your spirit and the spirits of those you love and hold close right now. Following our time of quiet, all will be invited to come up and light a silent candle for the prayers and meditations you keep today. First, though, would you join me in taking a deep, refreshing breath in, a calming breath out, and relax into this sacred time of quiet. At this time, all are invited to come forward and light a silent candle. Though we'll not be sharing our feelings out loud this morning, please know that our gathered community and I hold your joys and sorrows with you today and always. If you'd like to light a candle, just come forward, take a candle from the basket on our altar table, light it from our chalice, and place it in our box of collective sand. Friends joining us virtually today, please write in the chat if you'd like to have a candle lit for you in our sanctuary this morning. And I also invite you to light a candle at home, if that feels right. Does anyone wish to light a candle this morning? Let's take another short moment of quiet and stillness, friends. As these bright lights glow and flicker, will you center yourselves and join me in a time of prayer? Finding that deep source of love and spirit within you now. Offer a prayer for someone far away you do not know. And now offer a prayer for someone near that you do not know. Offer a prayer for someone you know who is not with you now. And offer a prayer to someone here now, perhaps even the person sitting next to you right now. And offer a prayer now, a loving word to yourself. Let it be so, and amen. Sarah will now introduce our offering. Thank you, Sarah.
In honor of Maine's Indigenous people, this week's half-plate recipient is Wabanaki Reach. Reach supports the self-determination of Wabanaki people through education, truth-telling, and restorative justice in Maine. One example is the Indigenous Peoples History Exploration offered this month, sponsored in part by First U. Speaking truths and elevating difficult conversations about Wabanaki culture and ways of being with grace and hope is the ongoing work of Wabanaki Reach. For those in the sanctuary this morning, we will be passing the offering plate to one another. For those gathered with us online, you are invited to make your offering using the donate button in the order of worship or by dropping a check in the mail. Thank you so much for your generosity.
could listen to you play that for another 3 hours. Yeah? Will you rise and join in singing our song of thanksgiving, friends? Words are in your order of service. Thank you all for your generosity. You may be seated. The first sermon I ever gave was on the third Sunday of Advent in 2012. Throughout the week leading up to it, I anxiously drafted a joyous message for a festive service. And then that Friday, Sandy Hook happened. And I remember thinking, I'm sure we all remember to some extent thinking or feeling, what do I do with this pain? It was so acute. And then horrific events like Sandy Hook happened again and 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 again. And now, here we are. Is the pain still acute? Has it dulled from repetition? Whether sharp or blunt, I still ask what perhaps is the formative call of my ministry. What do we do with this pain? What do we do with it? There's a Buddhist parable called the poison arrow. It's been told different ways over thousands of years, but simply put, a person has been struck by a poison arrow, and a group of people rush in, family, friends, neighbors, doctors, to help. But the person struck by the arrow says, I won't have this arrow removed until I know the type of wood the bow was made of, and whether the bowstring was thread or hair or sinew, whether the feathers that guided the arrow were from a vulture or a hawk or a peacock, until I know the position of the sun and how it affected the shadow of the arrow as it flew, until I know the direction of the wind and how it affected the speed of the arrow that flew. And as the person continued to disregard the pain of the arrow and to resist help and instead ask these questions, the poison spread. The end. Buddhism is so fun, so fun. First tenet of Buddhism is life is suffering, so you get stories like that. Like the majority of Buddhist teachings, this parable is understood to be a lesson on the importance of staying present to the moment at hand, so we are aware of what can be done to relieve suffering in the moment at hand. Life is so short, Thich Nhat Hanh writes in a commentary of the poison arrow. Life is so short. You must direct your practice towards practical efforts. Practical efforts. This parable has been on my mind for a number of weeks now. As I've watched people spin out and doom scroll and argue and troll and follow and unfollow each other as the horrific terrorism and genocidal violence worsens and worsens in Israel and Gaza. Who is actually attending to this pain? I keep wondering. Who is saying, oh my God, this hurts so much. I hurt so much, so you must hurt so much, and they must hurt so much. We must remove this arrow. And then Lewiston this week. My hometown, my mother's hometown, place where my grandparents are buried. Perhaps it's your hometown, or the hometown of friends and loved ones in your life. And this week I prayed, and I breathed, and I read and checked in with many old friends and exes, best friends, family, hospital chaplains, clergy, and I also spun out a lot. Laid in bed and in the backyard with the dogs a lot. Watched some really stupid television, maximum stupidity television. And throughout the painful week, for whatever reason, for all sorts of reasons, the parable of the poison arrow kept arising in my foggy, desperate to be distracted mind. And I kept wondering, what am I doing? What are we doing with this arrow? With this pain? Are we feeling it? The teaching of that Buddhist story has evolved for me these weeks, such that it is no longer about the pitfalls of a distracted mind. Distraction turns out to be pretty necessary for holding it all together. But rather, that story is about the necessity of actually feeling the pain of the arrow in order to take life-saving action. Or simply put, as I murmured to myself one day, you gotta feel it to heal it. You gotta feel it to heal it. When you can touch the pain present in moments like this, and it is always present in one way or another, but right now it is especially hot for many. When you can touch it, your voice, your actions, your thoughts even, will be much more impactful in affecting the change we need to see in this world. For if you touch the pain of the world, of another, you will know the absolute necessity of relieving it. And please, my friends, notice my use of the word touch there. Be gentle. Imagine this pain as a wound or an injury. You're not going to clench it. You're not going to dwell on it, inflame it further. You're going to touch it with tender care for a breath, maybe two. Because this pain is so great, feeling it, touching it must be done, I think, as a practice, a spiritual practice. And for me, this practice is prayer. And yes, of course, I am well aware that offering thoughts and prayers is an avoidant tactic for leaders, elected leaders, who seem to have little intention on acting on their thoughts and prayers, of doing anything with its excruciating and routine pain. Just as an aside, early Thursday morning, I texted a bit with a friend of mine who's a chaplain at Central Maid Med in Lewiston. I asked her if she needed anything, and she responded, "I need you to tell your people to vote for sanity." Beloveds, vote for sanity. This is insane right now. Vote for sanity. Or vote them out. When I suggest the practice of prayer, I want you to know that this is the opposite of an avoidance strategy. It is an action towards healing, towards peace, change, liberation. And I will say, if the word prayer doesn't jibe with you, call it something else. A meditation, an offering, a spell, a breath, whatever is most affected, but just stay with the arrow also. Just stay. When I'm compelled to pray, I take a moment as I begin to get clear on why I am praying, why I need to pray. What am I feeling now for someone, for many, for myself? And what is needed to relieve the pain that might have compelled me to be in this place? The root of pray comes from the Latin precare, which means to ask earnestly, and sometimes to beg. To beg. So in touching your pain, in offering attention to those who are suffering now, to ourselves if we are suffering now, what then do you find yourself asking for, needing to relieve this suffering? What do you need to get this arrow out? And take it or leave it, but if you find yourself praying to God to fix this pain, I remind you that our universalist faith proclaims that God is love. And love is something you possess and can act with at any time. And it is also something that I possess, that we possess, and can share with you at any time, all the time, all the time. And my siblings in faith, if you are praying for change, for peace, for ceasefire, for liberation, you must remember that holy change is made when we remember we are alive and contain the boundless, fierce, and gentle active energy of a spirit of life. We are the change makers. We are the lovers. We are the change makers. And life is short. Life is so short. Live with love and spirit. Let your prayers right now be an awakening. Let them be an action. And let your prayers hold you and guide you with spirited love. Feel it. You are not alone. Feel that. This is no way to live, and we must do something with this pain. So feel it, touch it, hold it for a breath, and then set it down and move forward accordingly. Move forward with the intention to heal it, with the intention to vote for sanity, with the intention to wake every morning into love, where love is the question of how am I going to help you get free? I love you, my friends. I really do. I really do. And here we are. This is it. We are the lovers and change makers, and we got to get free. We got to help others get free. As I conclude, I ask, I pray, that you will join me in a moment of silence to honor the lives lost this week. And during this quiet, our friend Joanna, thank you, Joanna, will ring our church bell as a symbol ringing out all across the land of our deep commitment to enacting a radical, healing, liberating love for all. Will you take a breath and be quiet with me? May all beings be free of suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings experience profound joy in the causes of profound joy. May all beings be loved. May all beings be free. Amen, and let it be so. Our closing hymn is number 123, Spirit of Life. Will you rise in body and spirit again with me and join in singing?
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, in the giving life the shape of trust. Hold me close, set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Thank you all for joining us on this important Sunday. So good to be together. I welcome you to join us for coffee hour after our service downstairs, and we can see if there's pumpkin slime all over everything. And take care of yourselves. Go gently this week. If you are struggling right now, please know I am here for you, and I also have a lot of resources to support you. So just give me a call. Will you take a breath? And raise your voice with mine in our unison benediction. The words are in your program. For those who come here seeking God, may God go with you. For those who come embracing life, may life return your affection. For those who come to seek a path, may a way be found and the courage to take it step by step. Go with love, my friends.